Oh no. I've transmigrated into an Angst novel. But the good news is, I'm the second male lead, not the one who gets tortured. Xinci, the richest man's granddaughter, took a deep breath, her beautiful eyes fixed on me with steely resolve. She looked as though she'd made a decision that would change her life forever. Fang Yuan, to stop you from causing Brother Dateng any more trouble, I've decided. I'm going to marry you. She spoke slowly, each word filled with absolute seriousness. I had only just transmigrated, and I was stunned on the spot. The original Fang Yuan had merely competed with Wang Dateng for a few scholarships, and occasionally stolen the spotlight in front of everyone. Later, he opened a studio and took a few contracts from Wang Dateng's company. That was all. And the woman standing before me was Wang Dateng's most devoted admirer, a top-tier heiress whose beauty was so stunning that every other woman envied her. She had just inherited hundreds of billions from her grandfather, who had died of illness. A wealthy heiress of such caliber had actually offered to marry me just to protect Wang Dateng. Heavens above. Good grief. Wasn't this basically a gift to me? Oh, wait, I realized it immediately. This had to be an AI-generated pseudo-human novel world. The truth suddenly hit me. I must have transmigrated into a world where logic didn't function normally. Only a world made up of pseudo-humans would come up with using marriage to restrain a supposedly villainous character like me. At that moment, my hands were still bound with rope. Xinci stood before me in a vivid red wedding gown. Everything inside the room was bright red. The walls bore red double happiness characters, and the room had long since been prepared as a bridal chamber. I grumbled inwardly. I'd been wondering why, if she was going to kidnap me, she had brought me to a bridal chamber. So she'd already decided to marry me. Wasn't it because you couldn't have by Ningbing that you kept targeting the man Ningbing loved? Brother Dateng, as long as I marry you, you'll be able to let go of your obsession with Ningbing. Then you'll have no reason to trouble Brother Dateng anymore. Xinci spoke again. Just listen to that logic. I knew the people here didn't think normally. What sane person would think of marrying their enemy to protect another man? You're ruthless. I deliberately put on a helpless expression and played along. Still, I had to admit, your plan should work very well. Xinci gave a soft laugh. She reached out with her slender, fair hand and yanked me to my feet. Now, come perform the wedding rites with me. I clicked my tongue inwardly. The wedding ceremony she'd arranged was extremely simple. There were only a handful of servants in the living room, although it was festooned with lights and decorations, creating a distinctly festive atmosphere. There were no guests at all. First bow to heaven and earth. The old butler acted as master of ceremonies, his voice ringing out powerfully. I deliberately stood there, refusing to bow. Seeing this, Xinci, her head covered by a silk veil, reached out and grabbed my collar. She forcibly dragged me into bowing with her. With her slight strength, she shouldn't have been able to move a tall, strapping man like me, but I intended to let her pull me along. Now bow to the elders. Now bow to each other. The ceremony is complete. Escort them to the bridal chamber. The wedding followed an old-fashioned traditional ceremony. To be honest, I rather liked the style. When the ceremony ended, there were no friends or family to offer congratulations. Only the servants gave a scattered round of applause. I carefully examined the servants. Many had dull, expressionless eyes. Some even had nearly identical faces and physiques. It was obvious at a glance that they were merely programmed NPCs. So this was an AI-generated animated drama world. I was speechless, but perhaps this was a good thing. NPCs without independent emotions were no different from robots. They would only follow a fixed script and never make a ridiculous move like Xinci's, sacrificing herself for the man she loved by scheming to marry me. On the way back from the living room to the bridal chamber, I was still tied up. Xinci kept hold of my collar the entire way. The moment we entered, she dragged me straight onto the bed. Then she picked up a cup of wine from the table and smiled at me. I knew you wouldn't cooperate tonight, so I prepared wine laced with something to arouse you. Once you drink it, you won't be able to suppress your desire to be close to me. As soon as she finished speaking, she gripped my chin with one hand and held the cup with the other, forcing the wine down my throat. Xinci, I hate you. I played along, pretending to resist with all my strength, while willingly opening my mouth and letting her pour every drop of the spiked wine inside. When she finished, Xinci visibly relaxed. She casually set the cup on the table. Then she began removing her wedding gown without a word. Feeling something unusual happening in my body, I hurriedly spoke up. You, don't come any closer, and don't untie me. I won't let you do whatever you want with me. Hearing this, Xinci seemed to think of something. She tossed her wedding clothes aside and came over to untie the ropes binding me. As she untied the ropes, she leaned close to my ear, her voice suggestive. Honey, you won't escape tonight. Be a good boy. Her words made my cheeks burn. The instant the ropes came loose, I immediately pretended to be struggling to hold myself back. I put up a verbal struggle. I can't control myself anymore. But inwardly, I was exulting. Little beauty, here I come. Seeing me looking completely bewitched, Xinci finally let her guard down. She lay back on the bed and slowly closed her eyes. A relieved, knowing smile appeared on her face. Brother Dateng, I've taken care of Fang Yuan for you. You have to be happy. I didn't care what Shang Xinci was thinking. I shamelessly indulged in the pleasure before me. After a night passed, I woke at dawn and sat up. I glanced at Shang Xinci, still sleeping soundly. The corners of my mouth curled upward. I gently lifted the edge of the blanket and caught sight of the faint marks on the bedsheet. My smile grew even more sly. Guys, can you believe this? I just transmigrated and already slept with a top-tier heiress. What an incredible welcome. And to top it off, this billionaire heiress was actually a silly girl. I must have worked like a pack mule for over a decade in my past life to earn this kind of fortune. Of course, in front of Shang Xinci, I couldn't show even the slightest trace of joy. I still had to keep pretending that I'd been forced. Shang Xinci's programming was clearly abnormal. I had to go along with her way of thinking. Before long, Shang Xinci woke up too. Rubbing her sleepy eyes, she propped herself up in bed. She looked slightly uncomfortable. I looked at her and spoke again, maintaining my exasperated tone. Shang Xinci, I never thought you'd use this method to trap me. But what good is holding a wedding without tangible assets like property, cars, and shares? And you don't even plan to have children with me. You can't possibly keep me trapped. At that, Shang Xinci blinked. She seemed to have thought of something. She gave a soft, teasing hum, then leaned in and kissed me. Thanks for reminding me. Cars, houses, and shares. I'll have my assistant transfer them immediately. She gently rested a hand on her lower abdomen, brimming with confidence. As for children, we took no precautions last night. I'm confident I'll become pregnant. From now on, we'll continue sleeping together every night. It's only a matter of time before I conceive your child. I will definitely give birth to this child. You'll be stuck by my side for the rest of your life. I'll even support you in becoming chairman of the Shang group. Then you'll be busy with work all day and won't have time to trouble Brother Dateng anymore. I pretended to be shocked. You're too ruthless. I hate you. I'll hate you for the rest of my life. She burst into laughter. She laughed triumphantly without the slightest restraint. That morning, Shang Xinci began handling the transfer procedures. All the property, vehicles, and shares in her name were transferred into my name. That's right, to every asset she owned. Her hundreds of billions in wealth were transferred to me in one package. In the blink of an eye, I became Haiqin's new richest man. The agreement had gone almost suspiciously smoothly. It looked like a new plotline was about to begin. Sure enough, just after I signed the voluntary gift agreement, the meeting room doors were pushed open. A man and a woman hurried inside. Xinci, don't. You can't give him all your assets. The man before me was Wang Dateng. He was exceptionally handsome. Based on my understanding of pseudo-human fiction, he was undoubtedly this world's male lead. He had rushed here specifically to stop Shang Xinci from transferring her assets. A girl with long, straight black hair followed behind him. Like Shang Xinci, she had bright eyes and pearly white teeth. Her skin was fair, and her figure slender. She was every bit as beautiful. Brother Dateng. The moment Shang Xinci saw Wang Dateng, her cheeks flushed. Even her ears turned red. Wang Dateng strode up to her. He shot me a cold glance. You can't sign this agreement. Once it takes effect, you'll lose everything. This male lead seemed to have a reasonably normal mind. The girl who came with Wang Dateng quickly chimed in. That's right, Xinci. Fang Yuan is clearly after your money. Don't fall for it. I recognized her by Ningbing. She was written as a fiercely self-reliant woman. She had started a business with Wang Dateng back in college. Now moderately successful, she was shrewd and clever. She was probably this story's female lead. Still, her so-called success amounted to only a few hundred million in assets. Compared with the hundreds of billions Shang Xinci controlled, it was like an ant beside an elephant. Faced with their pleas, Shang Xinci smiled faintly. She slipped her arm through mine. Sis Ningbing, you don't need to worry. Fang Yuan and I are already married. What's his is mine, and what's mine is his. I signed the agreement long ago. From now on, Fang Yuan is the chairman of the Shang group. He won't have time to bother you two anymore. Hearing that the agreement had already taken effect, Wang Dateng and by Ningbing looked utterly shattered. Xinci, you've completely lost your mind. Wang Dateng stomped his feet in fury. By Ningbing turned her anger on me. She glared at me viciously. Fang Yuan, Xinci is naive, yet you schemed to take her assets. Are you proud of yourself? I spread my hands. I'm Xinci's husband now. Naturally, what's hers is mine, and what's mine is Xinci's too. We're one family. How can you call that scheming or stealing? In truth, Shang Xinci and I had only held a private wedding. We hadn't registered the marriage or obtained a certificate. My assets belonged to me, and hers belonged to her. Our finances had nothing to do with each other, but I didn't want to give anyone ammunition. So I simply used Shang Xinci's own words to strike back. Bai Ningbing took a deep breath. Her expression shifted several times, as if she had made up her mind. She hurried over and grabbed my sleeve. Come with me. I need to speak with you privately. I was curious. What secret did this female lead want to whisper to me? She pulled me into a corner and lowered her voice, so only the two of us could hear. I know you've always liked me, when you couldn't have me. You turned love into hatred and repeatedly targeted Dateng. But that doesn't justify scheming against Xinci. What? Even she believed I'd always been in love with her. I searched through the original body's memories, and it turned out to be true. During his sophomore year, the original Fang Yuan had indeed liked by Ningbing. He had gone out of his way to arrange chance encounters and had even confessed first. She had rejected him. Afterward, the original Fang Yuan had let go. He never bothered her again. Now, Bai Ningbing was bringing up the past again. What exactly was she trying to do? Besides, the original Fang Yuan had never deliberately targeted Wang Dateng. They came from similar backgrounds and had studied the same major. As they both fought to rise, their paths naturally crossed everywhere. The original Fang Yuan had only wanted to become outstanding, but he had outshone Wang Dateng every time. Two outsiders that had looked like deliberate provocation. Bai Ningbing paused, narrowing her eyes slightly. Then she made a proposal that stunned me. How about this? I'll allow you to pursue me, but you must return all of Xinci's assets to her. What kind of nonsense was that? Assets worth hundreds of billions, and with nothing more than a vague promise. She thought allowing me to pursue her would make me return every penny. Was her mouth made of gold or silver? Even if her entire body were made of gold, it wouldn't be worth hundreds of billions. Still, I didn't answer immediately. My gaze settled on Bai Ningbing. A faint stir rose in my heart. It was probably lingering affection left by the original Fang Yuan. Seeing the woman he had once loved had triggered an instinctive reaction. Give me some time to think about it. This female lead didn't seem particularly bright either. I secretly decided to use the opportunity to trick her. Seeing my attitude soften, Bai Ningbing thought she had me where she wanted me. She quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Then she pulled the still furious Wang Dateng to his feet and left the meeting room with him. What did she just say to you? As soon as they left, Xinci came over. She pressed me for an answer. Nothing. She only advised me not to bother them after getting married. How did you respond? I told her that from now on, I would live happily with you and have nothing more to do with them. Xinci nodded in satisfaction. Just as I thought, my plan had worked. My great sacrifice hadn't been in vain. And so, on my first day after transmigrating, I spent a night of passion with a billionaire heiress. The next day, I took the chairman's seat and assumed control of the multinational giant, the Shang Group. A change in chairman was a major matter. A shareholders' meeting was soon called to announce the new chairman. Regarding Tengbing, the company founded by Wang Dateng, a classmate of the former chairman, and by Ningbing. What are your thoughts? At the shareholders' meeting, one shareholder turned to me with a question. The shareholder had lively, alert eyes, unlike the other vacant, expressionless NPCs. When Tengbing came up, I recalled what I knew about it. The company had risen rapidly in a short time, entirely through several massive cash injections from the Shang Group. I made my decision immediately. From now on, all cooperation between the Shang Group and Tengbing would follow standard business procedures. After speaking, I looked at my assistant and raised a hand. After the meeting, immediately conduct a full review of Tengbing's joint projects. Keep the projects with profit potential for now. The projects that keep losing money and have no future are to be halted. My intention was perfectly clear. From now on, the Shang Group would no longer support Tengbing for free, according to the original body's memories. If Xinci continued funneling money into it indefinitely, the entire Shang Group would eventually be dragged down. Following the original plot, the Shang Group would one day be crippled, until it collapsed. Wang Dateng and Bai Ningbing would then rise by draining the Shang Group dry, and be hailed by the world as business prodigies. Sorry, but this script is one I refuse to act out with them. Of course, profitable projects didn't need to be cut off indiscriminately. There was no reason to abandon something that made money. From now on, whether Tengbing lived or died would depend entirely on its own management. If it turned a profit, I would take my share. If it was poorly run, it could fend for itself. After hearing my plan for handling Tengbing, the questioning shareholder's eyes suddenly lit up. He stared at me for a long moment, then slowly nodded. With an appreciative look, Chairman Feng, you're completely different from the previous chairman. You can see clearly that Tengbing has been steadily consuming the Shang Group's resources. I look forward to seeing the group's growth under your leadership. Welcome, Chairman Feng. As soon as he finished speaking, he began applauding. The other shareholders quickly joined in. The eyes that had once been dull and empty gradually regained some of their spark. After the board meeting, my assistant quickly brought me a list of Tengbing's projects. I flipped through several pages and found that most of the partnerships were losing money. Only a few projects were barely breaking even. In other words, the company run by Wang Dateng and by Ningbing had made it this far, entirely because of the Shang Group's continuous financial support. Now that the group belonged to me, I naturally couldn't continue this money-losing arrangement. I immediately ordered my assistant to terminate every partnership. My assistant asked no questions. He carried out my orders at once. The moment the news got out, Xinci stormed into the office. Fang Yuan, why did you suddenly pull the investment from Tengbing? That company is Dateng's life's work. You'll drive him into bankruptcy. I quickly stood and pulled her into my arms. Then I began explaining appealing to what mattered most to her. Xinci, the Shang group belongs to me now. I only shut down a few projects that had been losing money for years. What's the problem? Besides, didn't you say that if you married me, I would let go of Ningbing and stop causing trouble for Wang Dateng? I haven't even seen him. I'm only handling my own company's business. How is that targeting him? Xinci was stunned by the question. She opened her mouth, but couldn't think of a rebuttal. After a long while, she muttered softly, but you knew pulling the investment would hurt Dateng. So in your heart, whether he feels comfortable matters more than how much the group loses every day. If I'd known you couldn't let him go, why did you marry me last night? Xinci didn't argue. She was still worried that something might happen to Wang Dateng, so I continued spinning nonsense that played along with her thoughts. Wang Dateng is a once-in-a-millennium business genius, let alone losing the Shang group support. Even if his company really went bankrupt, he would definitely make a comeback. Instead of worrying about him, you should go home and focus on taking care of your health. If you don't give me a child soon, I might fall back into my old habits and go make trouble for your Dateng. After saying that, I lowered my head and kissed her forehead. Xinci thought it over seriously, and surprisingly found it quite convincing. That's true. Dateng is so clever. How could a little difficulty like this defeat him? Hearing that, I pressed my advantage. Since he's only a friend, then don't mention his name again from today onward. Otherwise, every time you mention him, I'll remember how much you used to love him, and won't be able to stop myself from causing him trouble. Xinci stared blankly at me, as if seriously trying to digest my logic. You're still using your old number. He can contact you at any time. If I happen to catch him contacting you, I'll be upset, and he'll be the one who suffers in the end. And there's the place you're living now. Wang Dateng knows the address too. If he suddenly shows up at the door, I can't guarantee what I might do. Besides, you've already married me. Appearing in front of him again would only make things awkward for everyone. If you really want to respect him, you should cut off all your old ties with him completely. Xinci turned pale. She immediately pulled out her phone. Then I'll cancel my number right now and move somewhere Dateng doesn't know about. Then you won't cause him trouble anymore, right? That finally put my mind at ease. Only then did Xinci breathe a sigh of relief. She turned and immediately went to arrange a new SIM card in a move. Watching her hurriedly leave, I couldn't help feeling that this world's problems were ridiculously easy to solve. For Wang Dateng's protection, the girl had actually cut herself off from him completely. That very day, she not only canceled her old number, but also had everything moved to a new address. I was the only person she told about the new address. As for her old friends, she didn't notify a single one of them. Wang Dateng couldn't reach her, and then his company suddenly lost its funding. Before long, he frantically blocked the entrance to the Shang group. Fang Yuan, get out here. He confronted me angrily in front of numerous employees. In his desperation, he even reached for my collar, but the bodyguards stopped him on the spot. Was taking the Shang group from Xinci not enough? Why did you have to end Tengbing's partnerships too? I deliberately put on a disappointed expression. Mr. Wang, don't make reckless accusations. Xinci willingly handed the group over to me. Every procedure was legal and above board. As for your company, you've been using the Shang group's money to fill your financial holes for years. Is there anything wrong with me refusing to keep losing money? Seeing more and more people gathering around, I simply put on an even more dejected look. I promised Xinci I wouldn't cause you trouble anymore. Ending our partnership was also a way to sever ties with you completely. From now on, you go your way and I go mine. I wish you and Ningbing happiness. At the end of my speech, I even deliberately reddened my eyes. Several female employees passing by watched, their eyes lighting up. Mr. Feng is hurting this badly, yet he's still wishing his romantic rival well. A man like that is incredibly charming. I gave them a casual glance and called them shallow in my head, but Wang Dateng still refused to leave. I'm not here to discuss business with you. I want to see Xinci. I keep calling her, but I can't get through. Where is she? I don't know. Xinci has cut off contact with you. She even canceled her phone number. She also asked me to tell you not to disturb our lives again. Impossible. Xinci would never treat me like this. His eyes reddened, and he looked ready to cry. I felt nothing. The Shang group was now in my hands. Xinci had long since lost all decision-making power. I was willing to keep her by my side and take good care of her. For one thing, I valued her beauty. For another, I felt sorry for how badly I manipulated her. But if she ever stopped obeying me, I could still throw her out. Tengbing had been able to operate normally, largely because Xinci kept funneling money into it. Now that I had severed every source of funding in one stroke, it was only natural for Wang Dateng to panic. If Tengbing didn't go bankrupt, who would? Just as Wang Dateng was about to continue arguing, a black luxury car came speeding toward us and stopped neatly beside the crowd. Ningbing opened the door and stepped out. Her long hair was styled in waves. She wore a sharp business suit and hurried toward me in stilettos. Her expression was frighteningly cold. Fang Yuan, I need to talk to you. She didn't beat around the bush. She immediately demanded that I fully restore the partnership between the Shang group and Tengbing. Do you realize that pulling your investment will not only bankrupt me, but also leave me buried in debt? I still have to go home and keep Shang's Xinci company tonight. I had no time to keep sparring with her. As for Ningbing, she could wait until tomorrow. I glanced at her legs, which looked especially long in the business suit. Then I answered with a smile. You want to talk? Fine. Tomorrow morning, come to my office alone. Some terms aren't suitable to discuss in front of so many people. After saying that, I gave her no chance to ask more questions. I bent down and got into the car, then drove away under her stunned gaze. Early the next morning, Ningbing came to my office alone, just as expected. Before leaving, she had carefully washed and groomed herself and applied an exquisite makeup look. She had also sprayed the expensive perfume Wang Dateng gave her. Apparently, one bottle cost several 100,000 yuan. She wore a polished, eye-catching business suit. On the surface, she looked perfectly composed. Before entering the Shang Group's building, she even whispered encouragement to herself. Fang Yuan ended our partnership just to get my attention, didn't he? If he doesn't give me a satisfactory explanation today, I'll never speak to him again. She said it with great confidence. But since she had followed my instructions and spent the entire morning carefully getting ready, she was clearly less resolute than she appeared. She had obviously guessed what I wanted to discuss. Fang Yuan, the Shang Group suddenly pulled its funding. Tengbing's cash flow won't hold out for long. What exactly will it take for you to restore our partnership? Before she entered, I had just come out of the private lounge attached to my office. It contained a large bed, a television, and a complete set of new furniture. A faint peach scent still lingered in the air. It was Shang Xinci's usual perfume. She had only been chairwoman for a month or two. She had barely used this lounge. Now, the lounge, along with the entire group, had fallen into my hands. I looked around the room, but couldn't find any protection. It made sense when I thought about it. On the night Shang Xinci and I slept together, it had been her first time. This lounge had belonged to her before, so naturally, she hadn't stocked it with such things. I was even considering whether to send my assistant out to buy some. This should have been something to celebrate. Yet now, it was putting me in a difficult position. Then I thought about it again. This was a world populated by artificial humans to begin with. So what if there was no protection on hand? Even if a child came along, I could easily afford to raise one with my current assets. The thought had barely crossed my mind when my assistant brought her to the door. Chairwoman Bai is here. Let her in. After Bai Ningbing entered, I said only 2 words. Close the door. She did as I said. Then I added, lock it. Bai Ningbing froze. Lock the door? She immediately understood that what followed might have to stay secret. Once the door was locked, the employees outside wouldn't barge in. Whatever happened in this office would be known only to the 2 of us. Fang Yuan, I'm not doing that with you. Lock the door. Don't make me say it a 3rd time. If you don't want to, you can leave now. Ningbing furrowed her brow deeply and stood her ground against me for several seconds. Finally, she stamped her foot hard. Fine. I'll leave. She pulled open the door and actually left the office. I didn't stop her. I simply made myself a cup of coffee. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the door was pushed open again. Ningbing stormed back in. I didn't come back because I'm afraid of you. I just wanted to give us a chance. Even she might not have believed that excuse. What had truly brought her back was Tengbing's cash flow, which was about to collapse. I continued stirring my coffee without saying a word. Seeing that I showed no reaction, she could only take a deep breath and turn around to lock the office door securely. Are you satisfied now? I raised a hand and pointed to the sofa beside me. She walked over in her high heels and slowly sat down after arranging her skirt. I pushed the coffee I just made toward her. Try it. It's a new blend I came up with. Ningbing took a small sip. Then she slammed the cup down. You used me to test your recipe. Then don't drink it. I took back the cup she'd sipped from and took a sip myself. Too much sugar. I poured the coffee straight into the trash. I wasn't in a hurry. The person who was truly anxious could no longer sit still. She finally lost patience and grabbed my arm. Fang Yuan, I'm talking business here. Fine. Go ahead. Ningbing pressed her lips together and paused for a moment before voicing what she had concluded. You want me, don't you? Why beat around the bush? I didn't deny it. Ningbing was undeniably beautiful. Beautiful enough to make most men lose their judgment. Yet she seemed to think that as long as she was willing to come to me, I should continue using the Shang Group's money to support her and Wang Dateng. I was interested in her, but that didn't mean I'd make a losing deal. In Ningbing's eyes, her willingness to sit here and negotiate with me was already an enormous opportunity for me. But she had forgotten that I was the one holding the money now. Whether Tengbing survived depended entirely on my decision. Even if I agreed to be with you, I would never be your secret mistress. You're already married to Shang Xinci. If this got out, What would people think of me? Legally speaking, Shang Xinci and I never registered our marriage or obtained a marriage certificate. I'm still single, but I couldn't be bothered to explain that to her. If you're unwilling, then leave. My expression turned cold as I gave her a blunt dismissal. She was the heroine of this world. She was far more clear-headed than Shang Xinci and those programmed characters. Precisely because she was clear-headed, she understood even better that the Shang Group's investment had to be recovered. I was certain she wouldn't really leave. Ningbing remained seated. Her brows were tightly furrowed, and her entire body was taut as a drawn bowstring. The office fell silent for a long time. Only then did the tension slowly drain from her shoulders. Fine. You win. What did I win? I deliberately pressed her. Ningbing shot me a furious glare and turned her head away. After another moment of silence, she lowered her voice and said, I agree to be your woman. Once she said those words, the last trace of hope in her vanished completely. I stood and took her hand. Then come with me. I need to see whether you qualify first. We entered the lounge one after the other. 2 hours later, I came out first. I picked up a glass of water and took a sip. After a while, Ningbing finally made her way slowly toward me, one hand against the wall. Is it enough? She asked tentatively. Enough for what? I deliberately asked in return. Ningbing had no choice but to spell it out. Do I qualify as your woman? Meeting her hopeful gaze, I gently shook my head. You don't qualify. She instantly clenched her fists. Fang Yuan, what do you mean? You took the most precious thing I had, and now you want to shirk responsibility. I never said I wouldn't take responsibility. You were just as stiff earlier. You had no idea how to please someone. Ningbing was embarrassed and furious, but she still gritted her teeth and defended herself. I had no experience before. Teach me a few more times, and I'll learn faster than anyone. Finding excuses for herself was what she did best, but I had to admit, compared with those who only followed fixed scripts, she truly knew how to adapt to the situation. I stopped teasing her. I turned and took a bank card from the cabinet, then shoved it into her hand. There's 1 million yuan on this card. Consider it payment for your first time. I made myself perfectly clear. This was only the price for the first time. It didn't mean she'd receive this much every time. Ningbing looked down at the bank card and immediately flushed bright red. You gave me money? What kind of person do you take me for? I couldn't help laughing. Don't act so high and mighty. 1 million yuan is already a lot. I only gave you extra this time because you had no experience. That's why I added a little more. From now on, you'll get at most 100,000 yuan each time. If that's not enough, you can bear me a child. 50 million yuan for one child. Shameless. Ningbing cursed me viciously, but her fingers gripped the bank card tightly. Ningbing glared at me, embarrassed and furious. It was as if the card itself were an insult. But when it came time to let go, she couldn't bear to release it. After a few seconds of silence, she asked about the cooperation between our two companies again. I spread my hands. Sorry, I can't help you. Only then did she realize that she hadn't recovered the investment at all. She had given up the most precious thing she possessed. Yet all she received was a bank card. Tengbing's predicament hadn't changed in the slightest. Fang Yuan, you liar. Aren't you afraid I'll expose what happened between us? Once Shang Xinci finds out, she'll never forgive you. I spread my hands again. Suit yourself. And while we're at it, let me tell you this. Shang Xinci and I never obtained a marriage certificate. Legally speaking, I'm still single. So your threat doesn't hold up. Ningbing froze. She knew Shang Xinci was simple-minded, but she never expected her to hand over her entire fortune to a man she hadn't even legally married. In her eyes, Shang Xinci had even given away her own safety net. That was unbelievably stupid. Fang Yuan, you humiliated me like this today. One day, I'll pay you back tenfold. I reached for the bank card in her palm. If you think it's such an insult, then give the money back. No. Ningbing quickly turned sideways and hid the card behind her back, keeping it well out of my reach. You gave it to me, so it's mine. You even want to take back my hard-earned pay. Are you even a man? I withdrew my hand, no longer bothering to tease her. She could also see that I would never restore the investment. She had no choice but to stuff the bank card into her pocket and shoot me a vicious glare. She had come today to demand an explanation, but she failed to recover the investment and ended up giving herself to me instead. Given her personality, she naturally couldn't swallow this humiliation. Just wait and see. She turned to leave. I reminded her from behind. Next time you come, take precautions yourself if you don't want a child. Ningbing stumbled and nearly twisted her ankle. One more thing. Since you're going to be my woman, stay away from Wang Dateng from now on. I don't like my woman having no boundaries, and I like it even less when another man touches her. If he ever does, don't come looking for me again. She paused. She remained silent. Then she walked straight out. Her silence itself showed that she had taken my demand to heart. I watched her walk away. The smile faded from my face. Compared with Shang Xinci, Ningbing was at least clear-headed. She could be self-absorbed and arrogant at times, but once the benefits were made clear, she knew exactly what choice to make. A woman like that was worth bringing to heel. With the Shang group pulling its investment, Tengbing's cash flow collapsed completely. In just 3 days, the company began bankruptcy liquidation. After the audit was completed, Wang, Dateng, and Ningbing were each left with debts exceeding 100 million yuan. The two once admired rising stars of the business world lost the Shang group's continual financial support and were exposed for what they really were almost overnight. Of course, the story didn't end there. Burdened with enormous debts, both of them began searching everywhere for a way to repay them. But only a few days after Wang Dateng went bankrupt, two women paid off his debts for him. One was named Yaola. She was the underworld heiress of the Guyu family. The other was named Feng Xiaojin. She was actually a famous award-winning actress. I had already assigned people to keep watch on Wang Dateng. Not long after the news arrived, their investigation reports and photographs were on my desk. I opened the files and read through their histories from beginning to end. The records showed that both women had once pursued Wang Dateng, only to be rejected before gradually drifting away from him. Now, after hearing that he had gone bankrupt, they had both appeared at once, competing to pay off his debts. He truly was this world's male lead. The exceptional women around him just kept piling up. It was as if every remarkable woman in the world revolved around Wang Dateng alone. That kind of setup was perfectly in line with the way novels showered their male leads with plot armor. While I was still reading the investigation report, a knock suddenly sounded outside the office. My assistant came in and told me that Miss Bai was here again and demanded to see me immediately. I gestured for my assistant to let her in. This time, Ningbing had clearly learned her lesson. The first thing she did after entering was lock the door from the inside. Then she pouted and walked to my desk. After standing there for a moment, she spoke softly. Fang Yuan, I'm bankrupt. Without looking up, I continued reviewing documents. Got it. She waited by the desk for a while. When I still didn't ask anything, she had to continue on her own. Yaola and Feng Xiaojin paid off Wang Dateng's debts for him, but no one was helping by Ningbing, so she had no choice but to come back to me. I still owe 135 million yuan. Can you help me pay it off? I finally looked up and quietly sized her up. My eyes made the question perfectly clear. What made her worth 135 million yuan? I didn't say a word, yet my silence embarrassed her more than asking outright. Ningbing shifted uncomfortably under my gaze and pressed her lips together as she explained. I've already made up my mind. I'll definitely have 2 children for you. You said one child was worth 50 million yuan. That only comes to 100 million. You're still short 35 million. Do you really have to calculate everything so precisely? I'm your woman. After all, my woman. I remember that when you left last time, you told me to wait and see. How could a woman who truly belonged to me say something so vicious to me before leaving? Ningbing hurried around to my side of the desk and gritted her teeth as she sat on my lap. She placed both hands on my shoulders. We were extremely close. Our breaths mingled in the space between us. I didn't mean it. I was just angry. Fang Yuan, you're the only man I have. As for the rest of the money, I'll make up the rest with my body, alright? She had clearly done the math in her head. 1 million yuan each time. 35 million would only take 35 times. For her, drowning in debt, the deal looked worthwhile, no matter how she calculated it. Seeing that she had finally humbled herself, I lifted her up and carried her toward the lounge. When we emerged from the lounge again, Ningbing looked refreshed and even wore the satisfied smile of someone whose plan had succeeded. I straightened my cuffs and laid out my conditions. I can pay off your debt for you, but you have to write and I owe you. As long as you don't betray me, I'll never ask you to repay it. In other words, the IOU would simply put a boundary around our relationship. As long as she kept her promise, the 135 million would remain nothing more than a number on paper. Ningbing quickly weighed the matter in her mind and soon nodded solemnly. Fine, I'll write it. Compared with vague promises, I prefer using mutual interest to tie us firmly together. Seeing her agree, I took another key from the cabinet and placed it on the desk. This is an apartment near the company. Move in there for now. From now on, come to the Shang group and work as my assistant. Living close to the company will make your daily commute easier. I can also give her a stable income, so she won't have to keep searching for work after going bankrupt. Ningbing kept a calm expression, but a flicker of delight flashed in her eyes. After she went bankrupt, her house and car had both been seized to pay her debts. She currently had nowhere to live. One IOU had solved her debt, housing, and employment problems all at once. When she picked up the key, tears suddenly fell from her eyes. Thank you. Even she couldn't explain why touching the key had suddenly brought her to tears. I didn't go over to comfort her. This woman was clear-headed enough to console herself soon enough. I took out my phone and transferred 100,000 yuan to her on the spot. The note contained just 3 words: for your trouble. This CEO never leaves anyone waiting for their pay. When she saw the transfer, Ningbing quickly wiped away her tears just as expected, then gave me a slight pout. I continued laying laying out the rules. I will pay off all your debts. Every time you're with me from now on, I'll still give you 100,000 yuan. It won't be deducted from what you owe. When you give birth to a child, you'll receive an additional 50 million yuan. In other words, not only would I wipe out all her debts, the previous agreement to repay 35 million with her body would also be void. She would still receive 100,000 yuan every time. The 50 million for each child would be counted separately. By Ningbing's eyes lit up instantly. She nodded seriously. I understand. She quickly memorized every one of those conditions. At the time, I didn't realize that once she treated having children as a way to make money, her drive to act would be terrifying. Once this woman set her sights on a goal, her determination was strong enough to make even the man paying her wary. She went on to give me 8 children in succession. In the end, whenever I saw her, I had to take a detour in advance. Of course, that was much later. What truly caught my attention now was a dinner party several days later. That evening, Ningbing wore a red evening gown and held my arm as we smiled and greeted the guests. When we reached the center of the banquet hall, a man and 2 women suddenly blocked our path. The man was Wang Dateng. Beside him stood his 2 new backers, Yala and Feng Xiaojin. Yala wore her short hair in a neat cut and was dressed in a light green gown. Feng Xiaojin had her long hair pinned up and wore a white dress with a haughty expression. Both women were striking in appearance and figure, like eye-catching flowers, one green and one white, making Wang Dateng between them look especially like a green leaf. Ningbing, I knew it. You fell into Fang Yuan's trap. Just like Shang Xinci. The moment Wang Dateng saw us, his gaze locked onto Ningbing. His expression was one of profound hurt. Ningbing glanced at the 2 women beside him, and a wounded look surfaced in her eyes as well. Wang Dateng, you had people willing to pay your debts. What's wrong with me asking Fang Yuan for help? Besides, we were only business partners before. Don't make it sound as though we had a real relationship. Those words were the same as publicly taking my side completely. After all, she still owed me money, so she naturally knew whom to support. If I became displeased, I could use the IOU to demand repayment at any time. Ningbing had her wits about her. She naturally knew which side offered her greater benefits. Ningbing, you. Wang Dateng was cornered, his voice trembling. I've always liked you. For your sake. I even rejected Yaola, Sister Xiaojin, and Shang Xinci. Yet for the sake of a mere debt, you turned around and went with someone like Fang Yuan. By the end of his words, his eyes had reddened again. His company had just gone bankrupt, and the woman he had loved for years had publicly cut ties with him. His misery didn't look like an act, but Ningbing wasn't falling for it anymore. Enough. Stop talking. Fang Yuan paid off my debts. From now on, I'm his woman. Whatever happened between us is over and done with. Wang Dateng immediately clutched his chest, as if he had taken another heavy blow. Feng Xiaojin hurried forward to support him. Yaola, meanwhile, strode over to Ningbing and scolded her sharply with her hands on her hips. Ningbing, Dateng treated you so well before, yet you ran to his sworn enemy. One day, you'll regret this. After saying that, she pointed her finger at me. And you, Fang Yuan, you only gain power by using Shang Xinci. Other people may be afraid to offend you, but neither I nor the Guyu family is afraid. Just wait and see. After delivering her threat, Yaola returned to support Wang Dateng. Don't worry, the Guyu family will protect you. Fang Yuan won't bully you again. As she comforted Wang Dateng, she and Feng Xiaojin helped him leave. Before Feng Xiaojin left, she gave me a heavy snort. I hadn't said a single word the entire time. Yet for Wang Dateng's sake, they had automatically made me their sworn enemy. It was utterly ridiculous. Ningbing, on the other hand, smiled at me. Fang Yuan, don't take what just happened to heart. Didn't you say I looked alluring in this red dress? Why don't we leave first and find somewhere to make a baby? Her voice was both suggestive and ingratiating. Ever since learning that one child was worth 50 million yuan, this woman had become completely obsessed with making babies. She used to focus entirely on making money through her company. Her goal hadn't changed. She had simply switched to making money off me. I smiled at her and hooked a finger under her chin. All right. Let's go. After leaving the banquet, we parked by the river and got busy discussing the meaning of life. Outside the car, more than a dozen bodyguards climbed out of the SUVs and watched the surroundings warily. I had hired more than 30 bodyguards to protect me in shifts. I thought that level of security was enough. I only brought a dozen or so when I went out, while the rest were off duty. But it wasn't long before dozens of black cars suddenly came from every direction. 100 or 200 men in black got out and, led by Yaola, closed in on us like a dark tide. My dozen-odd bodyguards couldn't hold them back. Some were knocked down. Others had barely prepared to fight back before weapons were pointed at them, and they had no choice but to surrender. President Feng, stop playing around. We're surrounded. The bodyguard didn't need to knock on the window to warn us. Ningbing, and I had already seen the forces outside. As I straightened my clothes, I crawled from the back seat toward the driver's seat. Ningbing, call for help. Quickly. There are at least 1 or 200 people out there. We can only count on reinforcements arriving to handle this. I was hopelessly outnumbered in bodyguards. They couldn't deal with this situation on their own. But just as Ningbing dialed the number, a cold automated message came through the speakerphone. "We're sorry. The number you have dialed is outside the service area." I was utterly dumbfounded. How can an emergency call be out of service? What kind of insane world is this? The next second, it suddenly hit me. This was a world from a female-centric web novel. At a critical moment, normal rescue would never arrive in time. What does women's fiction have to do with this? She clearly had no idea what a story formula was. Her brow furrowed as if a row of question marks hung above it. I couldn't be bothered to explain. I started the engine, shifted into gear, and hit the accelerator. We had barely gone any distance when the black SUVs rammed us from the front and rear, pinning us between them. Both our escape routes were blocked. Even with the accelerator down, we couldn't move far. Ningbing and I failed to escape, and both fell into Yao's hands. "President Feng, you didn't expect us to meet again so soon, did you?" Since I'd already been caught, I couldn't be bothered to put on airs. "What do you want?" She merely gave to soft snorts, deliberately keeping me in suspense. Yao didn't answer. She simply turned and waved to her men to take the two of us away. Ningbing and I were forced into a car, and then locked in the basement of a mountain villa. Ningbing was tightly bound to a chair, while my hands were tied, and I was suspended beneath a ceiling beam. This setup made it obvious they intended to beat me. Besides, an ordinary punishment didn't require hanging someone like this. When I saw what Yala was holding, I realized she'd already planned exactly how she would beat me. Yala had even brought a small leather whip, and specifically called Feng Xiaojin over. "Feng Xiaojin, come see who I caught." Feng Xiaojin entered the basement. The moment she saw me, she froze in surprise, then smiled with satisfaction. "Well, Chairman Feng, I thought you were supposed to be so formidable, yet you ended up in Yao's hands so quickly." I shot them both an annoyed glance. I had only recently crossed into this world, and still hadn't figured out how many outrageous tropes this world had. This time, I really had been careless, but a loss was a loss. I accepted it. Cut the crap. Kill me or beat me. Whatever. Yala and Feng Xiaojian weren't nearly as kind as Shang Xinci. I knew I couldn't avoid suffering today, but according to the logic of this kind of story, they probably wouldn't actually kill me. If things got bad, I'd take a couple of hits and admit I was wrong. As long as I apologized quickly enough, they might forgive me at once. Worlds like this had always worked that way. It didn't matter how many mistakes you made. At the crucial moment, bowing your head and apologizing could wipe the slate clean. But I never could have imagined that these two were also Shang Xinci in a completely different sense. Well, you've got quite a backbone. A man like you is exactly my type. Yala walked up to me, crop in hand. I thought she was about to strike, but she merely raised a finger and lightly poked my chest. "Man, the way you refuse to bow your head is right up my alley." I was stunned. What was she trying to say? She was the one who had kidnapped me and even prepared a whip. Yet the way she was looking at me didn't look at all like she was about to interrogate a criminal. Before I could figure it out, Feng Xiaojian walked over as well and stood before me with Yala on either side. They narrowed their eyes and looked me up and down. I didn't expect President Fang to look so good hanging there. "Yala, let's not beat him. Why not punish him another way?" Yao's eyes lit up. She immediately understood what Feng Xiaojian meant. "You mean we should try something different with him? Why not?" Feng Xiaojian spread her hands, her eyes gleaming with flirtatious intent. Her tone didn't sound spontaneous. She had clearly already decided what this so-called punishment would be. But I didn't understand at all what she meant by a different punishment. Of course, but I'm joining in. What exactly were they plotting? What are you planning to do? I couldn't help frowning. Feng Xiaojin's finger traced across my chest as she smiled and reassured me. "Don't be nervous, President Feng. We just want to play a game with you." Yala eagerly moved closer as well, her gaze openly predatory. The two women stood on either side of me. There wasn't the slightest hint of murderous intent. Instead, the more they looked, the more pleased they became. At that sight, I suddenly thought of Ningbing, who was obsessed with having a child. A terrible premonition rose in my heart. "No, if you want to beat me, then beat me. Just don't touch me." The moment those words left my mouth, the two women became even more excited. They didn't beat me after that. Instead, they subjected me to an exceptionally grueling physical punishment. It was enough to wear out a workhorse. This sudden turn of events caught me completely off guard. Yet in the middle of that punishment, a sudden flash of insight struck me. Wait, this wasn't just a female-centric web novel world. It was also a world built on tortured romance. I wasn't some ordinary villain. I was the story's second male lead. My role was to become entangled with the heroines and make the male lead a cuckold again and again. As for Wang Dateng, He was the true male lead in this world of tortured romance. His main purpose was to have his women and money stolen by me, and suffer endless humiliation. No matter how miserable he became, the plot would force him to keep enduring it. The women who were supposed to revolve around him would become entangled with the second male lead again and again. Only when he could endure no more would he finally flee abroad to escape everyone. Once I understood this, I immediately grew excited. I couldn't stop myself from laughing aloud, looking exactly like a villain whose scheme had succeeded. In typical tortured romance stories, the second male lead could walk away unscathed after taking every advantage. The male lead, however, was different. He not only had to watch helplessly as the women left, but also had to swallow every last humiliation. As the second male lead, all I had to do from here on was steal his women, take his money, and live an easy life. I wouldn't have to endure the most painful parts of the plot, yet I could take the most tangible benefits. This role was practically more comfortable than being the actual male lead. That also explained why Shang, Xinci, Yaola, Feng, Xiaojin, and the other women always came onto me the moment they saw me. They were all following the plot and preparing Wang Dateng's next round of suffering. The more I thought about it, the better I felt. I couldn't resist giving Yao's cheek a playful pinch. Wang Dateng, since you're the male lead and I'm the second male lead, the story from here on is something I can certainly handle. I hope you can